The third, final, and probably the most competitive of the Egyptian gold cards is finally here. So before we go through my deck list, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to another one. When I made my Obelisk list, I want to make a list that was completely based around Obelisk. I didn't want to take some already created competitive archetype and just stuff an Obelisk in there and call it an Obelisk deck. I wanted to make a completely brand new original deck. But as far as Obelisk goes himself, he's actually a really strong card as like a tech card that can be stuffed into certain decks to counter certain things. And I think he's a really staple card in a deck such as For Hire. The deck list I'm showing you now is something some of my moderators suggested to me to play on stream yesterday, and this shit is actually pretty good. Obviously For Hire is already a pretty strong archetype and can hold its own, but then you include Obelisk on top of that, and it's really easy to summon in this deck as you're always filling up the board with 3 slots. If you're looking for a competitive Obelisk deck or a deck to stuff your Obelisk in, For Hire is probably the way to go. Alright, so my deck list is based around a very simple combo. Basically you have Ra's Disciple, Double Summon, and Obelisk. For those of you that don't know what Obelisk does, I'll give you a really brief rundown. Obelisk requires 3 tributes to be summoned, and when he is summoned, cards and effects cannot be activated in response to his summon, nor can his summon be negated. He cannot be targeted by any card effects, that can be monster, spell, or trap card, and he has the effect that you contribute 2 monsters, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Keep in mind though that when you use that effect, he cannot attack during that turn. So in a lot of cases, Obelisk can be a really strong card just by himself without having any support around him, simply because in a meta like this one where everyone's just running Floodgates and Canadias, Obelisk just completely counters that, and none of those cards can target him. Obviously Obelisk isn't completely immune, so against a deck like Spellbooks, where they have Fate and non-target removal such as Widespread, it's just completely useless and can just be removed instantly. But against decks like Vampires and Kokai Meru, this card is completely insane, because their entire deck is based around monster target removal, which is something that Obelisk completely counters, plus most of their backline is generally something like Canadia, which again is completely countered. The way this deck summons Obelisk is very simple, you just use Ra's Disciple and Double Summon. What Ra's Disciple does is when it is summoned, you can summon up to 2 Ra's Disciples from your hand or deck. It cannot be tributed except for the tribute summon of one of the god cards. Keep in mind, when this card is on the board, you cannot special summon monsters except for Ra's Disciple. What Double Summon does is it allows you to conduct a second normal summon this turn. So very simply, you get your Obelisk in your hand, you get your Ra's Disciple, you summon Ra's Disciple, then it activates its effect, summons 2 more Ra's Disciples, you can activate Double Summon and play your Obelisk on top. Probably the coolest thing about this combo is you don't necessarily have to worry about your opponent's backline when using it, so if you want to activate your Ra's Disciple, you just can, your opponent can't just Floodgate it or Canadia it, because its effect happens as soon as it goes on the board, so you can still summon the other 2 even if it is turned face down, and then you'll still have 3 tributes for Obelisk. Plus, Obelisk himself doesn't care at all about your opponent's backline when he's summoned, he just can't be negated and card effects can't be activated when it's summoned, so you just can ignore it completely. This deck also runs Gold Sarcophagus, which is your search card for your combo pieces and your Obelisk. What it does is it banishes 1 card from your deck face up. During your second standby phase after this card's activated, you can add that card to your hand. So just a quick tip when using this card, obviously use it on Obelisk the most as you only have 1 copy of Obelisk, so it's the least likely you're going to draw him. But if you are going to search for one of your other 2 combo pieces, choose Double Summon first, because when you use your skill, which we'll talk about a bit later, you have to discard a card. So if you can afford to discard Double Summon, you can't afford to discard Ra's Disciple, as you only need 1 copy of Double Summon for the combo to work, but you need all Ra's Disciples for that part of the combo to work. The rest of the deck is quite literally all Kuribohs. This is because all you need to do with this deck is delay until you get your combo pieces, whether this be delaying for your skill, or be delaying until you get your Gold Sarcophagus card. All you need to do is wait. I won't go through each of the Kuribohs individually, as I think you guys know what these Kuribohs do already, but I will talk about the Flute of Summoning Kuriboh. The Flute has 2 effects. The first, it can special summon a Kuriboh to the board, and the second, you can add a Kuriboh to your hand. So this card has a lot of synergy with Obelisk, in that Obelisk requires 2 monsters to be tributed to destroy every monster your opponent controls, so you can just normal summon a Kuriboh, activate this card, special summon another Kuriboh, and there's 2 tributes for Obelisk to destroy every monster your opponent controls. The last thing to talk about with this deck is the skill. So there's 2 skills that I think are viable for this deck, Last Gamble and Destiny Draw. Of the 2, I think Last Gamble is probably better, simply because it's not reliant on your opponent to do something, whereas Destiny Draw, you have to hope that your opponent doesn't try to play around the Destiny Draw. You do have a lot of Kuribohs, so you can manage your life points fairly easily, but if your opponent does work out how to play around the Destiny Draw, you do just kind of lose. Also, Last Gamble has the ability to potentially grab you 2 combo pieces, whereas Destiny Draw can only give you 1. Another upside to Destiny Draw though is that your hand size generally isn't that large when you're using Kuribohs, as you're discarding the Kuribohs from your hand to stop your opponent doing damage to you. So sometimes Last Gamble's discard is too much of a cost for you to activate it. So something like Destiny Draw might even be better, especially if your hand is already filled with combo pieces and you can't discard them. Alright guys, that's basically it for the talking part of this video. The rest of this video will just be 5 gameplays showing this deck in action. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new around here, comment if you've got any questions or feedback. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Also join my Discord.
Duel! Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.